Join the team. Yes!
Hey, this is the McGuire Review, and we are here with Isaac Childres, who is the designer of the epic board game Gloomhaven, which just had a huge Kickstarter, awesome on the second print. He is here with us to go over the next game that he's working on, which is called Founders of Gloomhaven. So, Isaac, if you want to just kind of maybe take us through the various components that we got here with the game, and what an overview of this game would look like from a mechanics perspective.
Sure, yeah. So this is a city building tile placement game where you are doing actions through a sort of an action selection system with these cards here. It's like a basic rundown might be like a combination of like Concordia and Puerto Rico. Basically, you're playing cards from your hand, and then you do actions based on that, but then everyone else around the table gets to follow your action. If you do something, someone else can do the same thing, so you're sort of looking around the table, trying to guess what other people are going to be doing and plan around that. So you got cards, and you can recruit more cards from that offer over there throughout the course of the game to make your deck bigger. So these are the race mats here, so everyone is going to start with a unique race. And they're going to have a special power associated with that race, and each race also controls a resource. So the central mechanic of the game is that each race controls a resource. There are 8 total. And so like in a 4-player game, everyone's going to be controlling 2 resources. But you can't just use your own resources to win the game. You've got to use other people's resources to combine them into more advanced resources and then deliver those out to point buildings to earn points. So that's sort of what I set up here. Like the green player has combined like metal and knowledge to create machinery, and then combine that machinery with livestock to make this cloth over here, and then he's delivered it to this shipyard to get a bunch of points.
Okay. All right, excellent. So if we look at this board, I'm assuming that these, and tell me if I'm wrong, but we've got like some different areas on the board. And I'm assuming those are the different kind of resource areas throughout the the land that we have here.
Well, yeah. So those are different. Well, there are 3 sections of the city. Sort of broken up by this river and this wall here, and then you've got different colors of the city. These red spaces are sort of the entrance regions, so it's easier to import your resources into this, right? So the theme is that you're building up the city of Gloomhaven, like hundreds of years before the campaign, of Gloomhaven. So it's a bunch of races coming together, just trying to build this town that's going to be an important trade center for the world. And so, you've got people coming in and importing their resources to these red spaces where it's cheaper. You've also got this coastal region where it's also pretty cheap because you're sort of importing from the sea, and then the more central regions are more expensive to import goods to. So that's sort of the colors. Also, what's going to happen is you've got your hand of cards, and you're going to be playing cards from your hand, and eventually you're going to want to get your cards back, right? And so there's an action associated with that. It's called Call to Vote, where you get your cards back and you get some stuff for the cards left in your hands. And then you're going to call a vote, which is these buildings out here. You sort of got these vote tokens. Everyone around the table is going to do sort of like a silent bid with the influence that they've been gathering over the course of the game. And they're going to pick one of the 3 buildings that they want to get placed out on the board. And those are like the point scoring buildings. So everyone's going to vote, and whichever one gets the most influence is the one that gets placed on the board. Whoever gave the most, gave the most influence to that building decides where it gets placed. But there are certain restrictions, right? So these different buildings, some of them are red, some of them are white, some of them are green. So when you place the building, you're restricted. You have to place it at least one space, right? So if you take this and it's white, at least one space of this building has to be on a white square. Like I can't put it over here. Okay. So that's sort of the significance of the colors. Is that makes things a little more interesting in terms of restrictions.
Yeah, and I absolutely love how you've got this is a game where you're also integrating that component of having the various different races, which I like, and I love the fact that they start the game controlling a certain resource. Now, is it just starting the game, or is it actually over the course of the entire gameplay, that race particularly has a stronghold on a certain type of resource, or is it just starting and then that can venture out?
No, yeah, for the entire game, each player has 2 resources that only they can put out on the board.
Okay.
Now, once they've put it out on the board, you can buy access to a resource. You put your token under that person's token. They still own that resource. They're still gonna earn all points for that resource, but you can use it then to build more advanced resources, and then you would own that advanced resource. But every time you use that, you sort of have to pay points out for using someone else's resource to make that.
Excellent.
So yeah, it's a fairly heavy game, and it's a little daunting to new players sometimes because the map is just basically like a blank canvas, right? You can sort of start placing your tiles wherever you want and then just sort of see what happens. So more intuitive players seem to enjoy it more, at least on the first play, because they just sort of see what happens when you do this or that. But if you're you really want to know exactly what you're doing before you make a move, you might get sort of some AP trying to figure out which space is the perfect space to put something down.
Well, I think that's what I love about this game so far from a mechanic perspective is, as you're playing this, one, you have that customization of the resource for the race that you choose. Two, you can kind of put your tiles wherever you want over the map. So what that gives us is a great level of replayability.
Yes.
Playing this game over and over and over again. It becomes so much more than just tile placement or resource management. There's a lot more depth to this game because of those mechanics that gives you that replayability.
Yeah, the replayability comes from you have 8 different races.
Yep.
So there's always a different combination of those, which leads to replayability. And then the building offer itself is a random deck of 21 cards. So the buildings are always going to come out in different order, get placed in different places. And yeah, so every game I've seen has been totally different. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then as, tell me a little bit about this track on the outside, how that's going to integrate.
Well, that's just the point track, right? So as I deliver resources, I get points. I'm going to move up the point track.
Okay, and that's going to be scored on a round-to-round basis?
No, it's just whenever you deliver these resources, right? So this point value is how many points I get for delivering that, right?
Okay.
So I would get 7 points. I'd as soon as that happens, I just move up on the point track.
Okay.
Now I say I get 7 points. I don't actually, because some of those 7 points are going to get paid out to the other resources I'm using. So it's sort of it's almost like a trickle down point system where I get 7 points, but then I've got to pay out 1 point to this livestock that I'm using, and then also pay out 1 point to the knowledge that I'm using. So I would get 5 points, and then Gray and Pink would get 1 point each.
An actual delivery of the goods, is that always going to happen within this area, or is there multiple areas, or do you have to be by the seacoast here? Or?
Yeah, so that's what's going to happen, right? So let's say we voted and we decided we want to place this building on the board. This tile then is going to get placed out on the board, and that's going to be another scoring opportunity. And maybe I'll put it over here, and no one's actually built over here yet, so we're going to have to start working towards getting resources over to that building.
Okay.
Because that's where the points are. And like I said before, it's broken up into 3 sections, and everything is connected by these roads, which are communal, right? So when I say something that has to be connected, it has to be through a series of roads here, these brown spaces. But the wall and the river sort of block that, and so you've got to build gates and bridges through these walls to connect this region to that region. But these are not communal. This is my personal gate. Only I can use this.
Nice.
So I consider this a road, but no one else does. If they want to cross over, they got to build their own gate.
Okay.
There's also
awesome.
a small worker placement aspect to this game. When you start building these houses out on the board, whenever you build a house, you unlock a worker. So if you notice, each building has an associated worker placement action on it. So once this is out on the board and you have delivered a resource to it, you can then use a worker to take this action, sort of as a follow action on someone else's turn. You can just do that and get a really good action on someone else's turn. Each race also they have a special worker placement action as well.
Okay.
So even if you haven't delivered any buildings yet, you've still got an option on where to place that worker, and those racial powers are pretty powerful. So that's really good. Yeah. So there's just a lot of stuff going on, but I think it works really well together, and people have been enjoying it as I've demoed this con.
That's great. So, I'll tell you right off the bat, and we're going to get some close-up, pictures and video of this as well, so you guys can see it up close. We're also going to get some overview of some gameplay, maybe a little bit later. I will say, mechanic-wise, this sounds very different for a game like this, and I'm excited about that. I love the fact how you kind of explained that you could sort of, you've got these barriers on the map that you could sort of, gate through to get from one area to the other, and that is specific to you as a player. I like that mechanic, so it isn't like you can just lay something down and let everybody just sort of go through your road that you've paved.
Right.
That's nice. I'll also say the artwork is awesome, and again, we'll get up close on this. I love the little details of these little huts and these little areas here. It really is great. So if you guys have backed Gloomhaven, do you have Gloomhaven, you are going to want to pick this game up for a few different reasons. One, your artwork and your style is very similar, so if you like that, you're going to love this game. Two, it ties into the universe of Gloomhaven, which is something that I love. When you see multiple different games out of a game publisher that all tie together kind of in one ecosystem or one universe, I absolutely love that. I think in the future we may even see some integration of these various games like Gloomhaven and Founders of Gloomhaven. So I'm super excited to see that. Isaac, thank you very much for running us through this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Excellent game. I cannot wait to hit on the Kickstarter with this. And when is the Kickstarter again happening for this one?
So I'm thinking like 3 or 4 weeks. Like as soon as I get home from Origins, I need to, get out those some review copies to more people, and
Excellent.
And then build the Kickstarter page. So
okay,
that's the next goal.
It sounds good, guys. Back this. You do not want to miss out, especially if you're a Gloomhaven fan. So hit that like, click the subscribe below to join the team, ring the bell. This has been the McGuire Review, and we'll see you next time.
Join the team. Yes!